I am sick and tired of this video. I've been working on this for, I think, 3 years now. Let's go back. 3 years. How many bonsai are next to me on the table? 1, 2, 3, perhaps 4 bonsai next to me on the table. This is an Acer Japanese Maple. I'm Jelle and this is growing bonsai. So besides my Acer, I'm also going to airlayer this tree. This tree is the very big pink maple that I used as an example for airlayering last year. A full techniques video as well as a follow-up on how to get it planted up is on my channel, linked down below in this video. This branch was airlayed off last summer, but if we look at the tree, it is actually just plain big and ugly. I see the future of this tree right here, going up from the trunk into this branch, into that branch. Wire this out over summer, and at that point this has become a sacrifice branch. To remove this sacrifice branch, I'm going to layer it somewhere here at the base. I need to do that this year because it's now getting so thick it is starting to dominate the lower trunk. If I leave it on a lot longer, then from this side you get a very ugly swelling and this transition become unnatural. So this is going to come off, but then here the branch splits. I don't like this split. It's ugly. The character is quite different. These trees, they don't gel together, so layering it at this point is not going to make a nice twin trunk. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to layer it low, get the most out of the fat base that is already here, use the straight continuation into this trunk, and layer this one off as a separate tree. Then if I look at my intended front, this is the intended front, right? So it goes up, up, up. But then there's a big side branch here as well. Might as well also layer that off and say, well, I've got another tree in here. In order to improve this tree, what am I going to do? I have decided upon this as the new front of the tree and this as the new tip of the tree. So what I'm going to get is a tree that goes up, trunk, side branch, trunk, side branch, side branch, side branch, side branch. This is going to go. This is going to be shorter. This is too heavy. In fact, if you look here from the side, this might make a nice little tree in itself, but this is all boring. So I'm going to take it off here, keep this branch, but shorten it a little bit so it fits better. And then what you get, this one I'll keep, but only up to here. The rest I'm going to layer off. You're going to get a fairly compact tree. Last week of April, and I've decided to give the lowest one a bit of a head start. The reason is, here is going to be an air layer, there's going to be an air layer, so most of the hormone production is going to be cut off once I start layering here. By now producing roots here lower first, I might have a better success rate here at the low spot. It's been 2 weeks. A little bit further in the season, you can see the pink maple has now also started to push. I have a little bit of a problem because we had some late frosts, and this week I forgot to protect this one, and the tips of the leaves, they're a little bit brown. But besides that, the tree is healthy, it's pushing. Same for the Acer. Let me put on the other air layers. I don't think I need to explain, right? If you don't know how to take air layers, check down in the description, and otherwise go to my channel, search for Airlayer, and there's an Airlayer video on how to take an Airlayer shown on this tree, and there's one on Airlayer aftercare. How do you get them from the tree into a pot and to grow successfully after that? I'm not going to go through all these details in this video. 3 more Airlayers set on this tree, one there, and one there. I'm going to let the wounds dry a little bit. That reduces the risk of bridging. Then I'll put a pot over it, fill it up with substrate and water it as normal, just like I'm watering the pot below. This pink maple is not growing all that strongly, so I'm not going to do the ones in series. I'm just going to take the main one here, and I'm going to do the main one here. Key to layering is of course that you go deep enough. Make sure that you get to the real wood and that nothing of the softer stuff is left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 air layers on 2 plants. Not the number I was hoping for, but that's it for now. Going to water all the air layers as normal. and in 6 to 8 weeks I hope to have some roots there. Right, this is a bit shocking. It's been 2 weeks since I put the air layer on, and last week I noticed that the tree was starting to really wilt. You can see the leaves are going black, and upon closer inspection I realized there's lots and lots of aphids on this tree. I don't know why, but this one, the branches were just drooping, they were hanging down. Maybe this is a response to me putting the air layer on. I've never seen any response this strong to anything that was happening in my garden. So this time I decided to go out and not just use my normal soap mixture. I got a bit of poison and I sprayed this tree with the poison mixture against sucking insects. It has helped. There's not a single aphid left on this tree. The branches are pushing again, extending again. There are still growing tips in the tree, so I do have good hopes that this tree will recover. I do hope that it also will start rooting, but this was a bit of a negative surprise. And this is maybe sometime, if you're new to bonsai, something that you might not realize. You see all these magnificent pictures, you see great videos online, but nobody tells you that even in big Japanese nurseries there's a back section. That's where the weak trees are. That's where the grafts that didn't take are. That's where the trees that are dying are. That's the ones with massive infections of fungi or insects. So don't be disheartened if you have a tree that looks like this. You know, not everything always goes as you want it. And also in bonsai, that's the fact, right? This is just nature. It is plants living, and you can do a lot of things right, but you just need to have one negative effect and something will go wrong. So a little bit of a dilemma. It is now almost August, just 2 more days, and I don't see a lot of clear signs, such as strong growth here below the layer, that these layers are rooting. On the other hand, if I wait for another month or 2, I might actually be too late for separating these in time for winter. So now what am I going to do? I'm an impatient man, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a peek. And I tried to dig around a little bit, but I didn't see anything. So I'm actually really, yes, I am going to open up the pots. That means that I might have to run off. If there's good roots, I'm going to separate, plant it up. If there's a few roots, I don't know. If there's no roots, I have to close it up. Maybe add rooting hormone. But yeah, thus it will happen. Let's see. And yeah, this time I'm really scared because I really don't know what's going to happen here. Doesn't look like this resulted in roots. Nope. Pure callousing, a tiny little sliver. No, this is all callousing. And yep, there on top it has calloused over. That's the reality of things. So now what I can do is I can just chop off the callousing here, open up this again, and then hope that in the next couple of weeks it will still start rooting. So that connection is gone. There's no other connections. I'm going to cut off the callus a little bit here at the bottom, and then I'm going to apply a little bit of rooting hormone on the cut edge in the hope that this will encourage the tree to root. That was a bit of a shame. Let's try the other one. So here the same thing. Am I lucky or not? Don't think so. No, no rooting here either. Well, neither of these is dead, but neither of them rooted either. Let's put this back on the bench. We're in the middle of August and I can't help but be a little bit frustrated. I don't see any telltale signs that this is rooting. I don't see a lot of sprouts forming here at the bottom. So I'm going to have to explore and see what happens. I'm going to take the pot off. If there's no roots, I'm going to wrap it back up, add some new rooting hormone, but then I wrap it up with the intent of leaving it over winter. Nope, absolutely no roots here. That's really, really strange. Did it bridge? It also hasn't bridged. So now all I can do is just clean it up, add some rooting hormones, and yeah, replant for winter. Try the same thing here. This is really strange. This of course makes me now very curious to see how these other gawas have done. Normally they would root very easily, but maybe the cold and windy and wet first half of the summer have hampered it. So, roots or no roots? This does not look good. This is really, really baffling. Not a single root, also on this air layer. Well, there's one with a root at least. Let's get this potted up. Let's not break off the roots. There we go. And a second with roots and another one without roots. This is really, really interesting. So separate this one and plant it up. Should I be happy or sad? Don't know, to be honest. I do give these still a good chance of rooting. We are in the middle of summer, and in the second half of summer a lot of root formation takes place for many tree species. So chances are pretty good that I'll get a push of roots later this year. But that's not going to help me, because then, yeah, I'm not going to cut them off in the last week before the frost hits. So I'll probably have to leave these on for the rest of winter. Let's see how that goes, and in spring I'll take a look again. First week of October. This should really be enough. And if it is not done now, it's going to stay on for winter, and then in spring I'll check. Good thing is they're still happy and growing. These I pruned back. They look a little bit scruffy. We are really entering fall. This is short of nutrients. Let's have a look. So one of the things I'm noticing is here the substrate that is coming out, which is not really good for the rooting, because it means the substrate moves a little bit. Now let's take this off and see whether there's any rooting going on. I am very concerned. The answer will be no. Ha! Look at that. Now it has rooted massively. This is a really good sign. Let's get my clippers and get this potted up separately. Now what is clear is that it is rooted only on 2 spots, and here on the top it hasn't, but I have good hopes that that will sort itself out next year. Just regular garden shears should do the job. Oh, wait, stop. There is one more layer here on top. I can't really separate it before I've checked this one and separated this. In fact, I should separate both now, because if I cut this one off, that one will fall down. So let's stop this from drying out too much and cover it up with a bit of substrate. And then look at the top one. And I'm actually thinking, no matter what, I am going to have to separate this one. It's going to be very difficult to root this while the other one is also rooting. So this is all or nothing for this one. Either it has roots and it grows, or it doesn't, and I defoliate and you treat it as a cutting. This is such a sad moment. There is nothing there. And now let's do what I started to do already on this side. That's good roots. But as said, only on one side. Really need to hurry up because the rain has come. Now I'm going to trim these back a little bit, just taking the longest tips out to encourage more rooting closer to the trunk. Just a bit of substrate on the pot. All done. this one, as said, I'll trim off most of the foliage to reduce evapotranspiration, and then I'll see whether this wants to root over winter as a massive cutting. It does have a lot of callousing going on, but yeah, you never know. It's not a good situation to be in. And the pink one, I don't know if you can tell, right here, that's not doing so well. In fact, it is not doing at all anymore. This one didn't make it, obviously. Bit disappointed, obviously. However, this one is still full in leaf. And I'm tempted to also here say, you know what, either it has rooted or not. But here I am a little bit more careful because I want this to live. And if this is not rooted, I really will pack it up again. And again, no roots. So how is this possible? Early spring, buds are swelling. Let's have a look and see whether this air layer has now taken. I'm going to open up the pot and see whether there's roots. If not, I'm going to cut down the callus, pot it up again. But I hope there's roots because I really want to repot the whole tree. And for that, I prefer to have this separated. This doesn't look good. There's a lot of movement here in the pot. I don't think it has rooted. It's interesting because the first time I tried to root these rooted really easily. Nope, no rooting here. There's also no bridging taking place, which is really odd. Why hasn't this rooted? Let's give it a couple of months and let's see whether this now takes. Can you see it? There's little flowers on this Arakawa air layer. This is really developing nicely. I guess I'm quite happy with that. There you have it. Still growing, still pink, still alive, and still layering. And earlier this month, no roots. There's not a layer in the back. There's another layer on the other side in the back, and I want to layer this off as well. So this is a bit of a tricky tree for me. I am really sad that this doesn't work, but look at the leaf color, nice bright pinkish in different hues across the tree. Okay, I admit it. I am sick and tired of this video. I've been working on this for, I think, 3 years now. 3 years ago, when I just started my channel, I thought, hey, bonsai calculus. How many air layers can you take off a single tree? And in that summer I took loads and loads of air layers of just regular Japanese maple in series on the same trunk. Trees fell over, branches broke off, and the whole experiment was restarted. And I did the same with this nishiki gawa. And you could think, actually in the video I said it was Arakawa, but no, it is nishiki gawa. And this is a layer, but that is also an air layer. The mother plant is a lot larger and it's in the back of the garden. I don't want to lug it here. So that is actually the second air layer I took off the plant parallel to this one. I took some air layers of my very nice big pink maple and that has still not rooted. It is 3 years, it is still green, it is still growing. Well, actually it's still pink. But yeah, it's no roots. And now what happened over the weekend, I was at a bonsai show and there were quite a few Seigens. And I was talking to the owner of one of them and I said, hey, do you propagate it? Because I would like to have some cuttings. And he's like, no, Seigen is so hard to propagate, I don't. And then it hit me. My tree is probably a Seigen, which is why it roots very poorly. In fact, my Airlayering Japanese Maple video, and I'll pop a link all the way at the end, has that pink maple, and I successfully rooted an Airlayer. So now I'm even more annoyed with it that it now doesn't. Anyway, this video has been a long time in the making. This was Jelle. I am sorry for a non-successful, non-closing end. This was Jelle, growing bonsai, and see you next time.